Welcome to Ulua. You live, you work, you art.
Hi, this is Carol from Ulua, and I was about to talk about complexity right now, but then I decided there are some things that I want to set up before we talk about complexity, and one of those is uncertainty. And this is something that we as humans hate, really hate uncertainty. We hate not knowing what would happen if we take one way or the other, if we choose a road instead of the other, if we choose to eat something instead of the other. So we are always like hating this not knowing thing because we feel that we need to be in control of things. And I don't know if you're familiar with complexity in general, but one of the things that I wouldn't say all, but most of the systems that are placed in order to, or are created in order to deal with complexity, also work with uncertainty. Because, for example, take it like today, we are living in an age of, I would say, days of transition between when AI started and now it's getting into our lives even more and more and more daily. And at everything that we do is always there's artificial intelligence getting in the way somehow, or participating or assisting us or whatever it is, but it's here. And we are in a period of transition where things are getting more complicated or more complex, and we need to be able to pass through this period, which is uncertain because we don't know what will happen next, what will be the next things, the next jobs that we need to do or to work on. We don't know how communications will be in the near future. We are just like not knowing anything at all. So I think uncertainty is like one of the topics that I would like to address, and I think it's super important to talk about. So, what is uncertainty? And I will talk in like normal day-to-day words. I will not say, I don't know the definition of that kind of thing. I will just talk plainly with you. And uncertainty, you have already experienced it in the pandemics when uncertainty was everyday life for us. And I was talking to a friend the other day, and also when I interviewed Juan Franco um, last week, I think it was the episode on Friday, we were talking about pandemics and how we thought it would be a short period thing, like in Argentina, we are used to things happening, and so we said it will be just 3 months and this will be it. But it extended like for 2 or 3 years, and we still don't know about the consequences that it will have on our health, on our mental or physical health. Um, it has for sure has some immediate consequences that we have seen. For example, many people stays indoors most of the time. Not that many people go out that frequently. It is also, I could say, aggravated by other factors like health issues. Right now we are getting into winter. Also, the economic crisis has helped the people not going out and prefer to work remotely. A lot of things have happened. But at the time, we couldn't know what would happen in the near or the far future. So that is uncertainty. That is not knowing, basically. So, and why do we hate it? Well, because not knowing, we need to know in order to know how to survive, our brain wants to know if we will be able to survive, or what are the steps that we have to do in order to move forward. And if you are uncertain of things, you just have to bet on something. So And when you bet, you can, we could say, you go all in, or you go and say, okay, I will take this road instead of the other, I don't know, 30, or just another one that I have, or at least I will have to choose the lesser evil of two choices. And doing nothing is also choosing to do nothing. So when we don't know, and we don't know how to assess that, it's like our map of the world, our map of reality has been totally changed, and maybe there's not enough time for us to rebuild it, or to yes, to to be able to decide what's the best way in order not to feel uncertain. So if we have to take it following this survival approach, our mind wants to know, because it needs to be safe. And if there's uncertainty going on, we feel unsafe. We feel that there are threats everywhere that we might not know. I've just had sorry, I just finished watching El Eternauta, which is a Argentinian series, you know, the one that Kojima, amongst so many others, liked. And so it's like become famous. And in this case, you can see, while the series is building episode by episode, you can see the uncertainties and the mystery and the not knowing of things is getting more fearful. People are getting more fearful because they don't know what will happen next, and we do just by watching it too. But yeah, so human feels that they need to be in control. We as humans, I feel the same when you are in this kind of problems. We could say, like in the pandemics, we can use it as a great example. We felt that there was something that we could do, at least for us, to feel safe. So some people, for example, followed the protocol of cleaning absolutely everything in their home and that kind of thing. Other decided, I don't know, to put more effort on their food and what they were eating. Others did too much exercise in order to cope with that anxiety that this uncertainty was bringing to them. So, and in this case, the uncertainty took so long, or that much time for us to pass on. So anxiety and uncertainty and not knowing, and everything was building up.
No tienen mate en el Eternauta. Qué mal. ¿Qué estaba por decir?
Yes, because this was a case of a prolonged, we could say, or long time of uncertainty. But when you have a short-term uncertainty, or at least that's what you perceive, right? What we tend to do is, like in this case that I was saying, I thought at first that it would be 3 months, and then it extended and extended. But at first I thought, well, I will just relax and stay at home and take it as a holiday, as a vacation time. But and so what you do is you try to somehow conservate or look for the conservation of energy in your body, in your mind, and that kind of thing. So you try to or relax, or some others went the other way, like getting anxious on when is this going to end. So those things are related to survival. But what we have Another thing that happens when you are uncertain of things that are changing, like right now with artificial intelligence, the things are changing so fast that you lose track of the things that are going on. And also at the same time, you have economic crisis here and war there and manifestations and so many things going on in the world right now, like it's gone totally crazy. So we try to resist some things. We try to avoid certain topics. This is some kind of resistance, that we put our barriers against the things that are going on because we don't want to know. In my case, I do that because I'm also human. When I, for example, when I was anxious or when I was not feeling okay, what I did was like close almost every contact with the steerware because I had to concentrate, in my case, on health. So other people, that's the way they resist. You may do, for example, again, you may tend to go to the gym more. Others may work instead of confronting the problem and trying to decide what to do, because sometimes there are so many things going on that we can't take all the problems at once. So maybe our priority is this problem, in my case, health, for example. So I concentrated on health only, or mostly, and the rest of the things were like left totally aside. So this is not only about not wanting to think, because sometimes we, as I said, you have like the planters, remember that we talked about? We have we want to cultivate different aspects of our life, but if we had problems in all of them, we have to prioritize. So we can decide to concentrate on one, or reviving one plant from the planter and leave everything aside. But and because thinking or trying to solve this problem, putting the effort, the patience, in order to decide what's the best for this case, maybe to plan, to follow the steps that you have to do in order to solve the problem, are really, really tiring for our brain, because our brain can only focus on one or two things at a time. And thinking is really hard work, or that effort that you have to do. Maybe thinking, maybe planning, it all comes to your mind, right? It's like you're overcharging your mind or overwhelming it. And you need to decide where to focus. So yes, this takes a lot of effort for you to do. And when we feel, for example, like we could say all these plants that we have, or all these areas in our lives, most of them are like burning up. We need to focus on saving only one or two. It's really frustrating, and it's also, yes, frustration, I think, is one of the things that comes up, at least for me. Maybe you get angry, or you get paralyzed, or, well, every person reacts differently. But what we like to do when we have this uncertainty, maybe I just leave everything burned down, and maybe it is great for me, but you don't know. And that's the thing that gets you like, I want to know now, and I want everything to be burned up right now so I know what's left, or I want everything to be okay right now, or back the way it was previously. because we need to be able to control, and our minds, our brains like certainty, like to feel safe, or at least if they are not safe, they know, your mind knows how it feels like to be stable in a good or in a bad situation, but it feels stable, it feels calm, it feels that even if it's burning, but it's stable and it's burning all the time, I know that tomorrow it will be burning too. So nothing happens, and our brain are like, oh, I know, just it will be burned tomorrow, and everything will be fine for me, in order not to think about how to solve that. So that's another thing that happens to us. And yes, we are lazy, and our brains are lazy. Even though we don't like thinking about that, we have to make a conscious effort in deciding which one of the planters I want to save now, or which are the ones I will discard in order to go on with my life. So yeah, have you ever felt like this in some situation where you couldn't control, maybe in the pandemics, maybe in another situation that you have been to or you are experiencing right now, or this, I don't know what will happen, I don't know how to do about it. It's just it comes to mind a phrase from ABK, who is among several things. He's an artist from the UK, and he says, "You just don't know." So, yeah, you just don't know, and that is uncertainty. And the feelings again associated with uncertainty. I said maybe you get frustration. In my case, I tend to get anger and then be frustrated and then be, or sometimes interchangeably, and then feel fear because I don't know what I'm going to do, and impotence, and like I want to do something and I don't know what. I don't know if this will help, this won't help. So anxiety comes in too, and you start, like, remember we talked about in a past episode about overthinking with the, okay, for us people that are more mental or try to control things, you may notice that you start thinking, oh, what if I do this and this and this and this and this and this, and you open like a million scenarios in front of you, and it's impossible to solve them because you have so many things. Or maybe if you are consistent and you are somehow obsessed with the things, you can go and explore every scenario, but these scenarios will open more scenarios and more scenarios and more scenarios. So it will be like madness, complete madness. And remember, your mind might you something that I don't know if it was, I will make a parenthesis story here. I don't know if it was something that happened in the 70s or 80s or something, but, and this is not exactly related to the same thing, but the word that I'm going to use, yes. I remember people thought at university I was living alone, and I studied. I love studying because I've always been super curious, and I was studying and reading a lot of books and things all the time because it was just what I did at the time. And I remember my parents' friends. Sorry, the parents of my friends used to tell me, and in different houses, I went there for dinner, or they invited me for lunch, or sometimes to stay during the weekend, and I would go and they said, oh, be careful because you may have a surmenage. And then I went to lunch with other friend, and their parents said, oh, you study too much, maybe you will have a surmenage. And I thought, no, I'm not studying hard, I am living life too at the same time, even though I study, yes, but not that hard. And so yes, but your brain can have some kind of, I don't know if the word is surmenage, but I've seen people due to this heightened levels of anxiety become burnout. Now the term is burnout, and even taken out of offices, like completely numb and not be able to work even after that. So be careful about overthinking, because maybe it can lead you to burnout. I don't know about your case specifically. I'm no doctor either, sorry, but yeah, that can be a thing. You could have some kind of burnout due to overthinking. So yes, but if you want to know more about overthinking, go to the previous episode. So and I remember that I talked about you could be paralyzed too. And I know many people, I used to be one of those people too. Then when I had to do something, I would revisit every scenario as possible and then decide nothing, which is a decision, of course, but not doing anything. It's the worst, I would say, of the decisions. Even if you make a bad decision about the topic that worries you, at least you will know, right? You will know what happens. And yes, I think there's always best to decide for something instead, or choosing something to do or some action to take, instead of letting others or life or the situation or fate or destiny or however you want to call it, or the universe to make something for you. But again, it depends on the context, and it also depends on your priorities, right? So yes, but yeah, I think it's always better to act upon instead of just staying without doing anything. Well, that's my idea, but again, I'm just talking in general. In some topics, I have also decided to wait on some things because it was not the right time for me to decide, because I have some things going on. And as I said, maybe you have priorities, right? So safety is always first. Physical safety is one of the first ones, and health and that kind of thing. But when you are better, you can make a decision on the other things. And I don't and I don't want to leave aside this thing that I think it's super important, because culture has a lot to do with the way we decide things, and we might talk about decision another time. But what to do when there are cultures, for example, that they are more permeable, I don't know if that's the word, or more tolerant to uncertainty. For example, when I was living in Indonesia, or at least that's how I perceive, right? Remember that I'm from the opposite side of the world. Maybe they don't perceive it like that. Maybe they think that they are not tolerant to uncertainty. I haven't talked with them about that. But I felt, from my point of view, that they were more like tolerant to uncertainty, and they don't even have a word for risk in their native language. So they do have a hati-hati, which is like caution or be advised, some kind of thing, like, or beware. When you say, for example, beware of the dog, That's like hatty. But maybe that's the reason that they are more tolerant to uncertainty from my point of view. I don't really know for sure about that. And uncertainty has also to do with it's not totally the next step, but sometimes after you are uncertain, and we are uncertain all the time, aren't you? I'm uncertain all the time about so many things. But sometimes, for example, I was super uncertain, yes, about so many things in my life. I will name just one. For example, when I was invited to go to Indonesia for work, and I didn't know what to do really, and until up the moment, even when I was there, I say, "What the hell am I doing here?" And I just took a leap of faith. I could say, right? And faith is something difficult to describe. So I call it like I just put the bet on that, and I say, okay, I will go, and I will live with the consequences of doing what I have decided. So yeah, we will have to talk about decisions sometime later. But for now, I think that is what uncertainty brings us, and that's only talking about you and me and just individuals. I have decided not to include the organization, there's the uncertainty in organizations, because maybe we'll leave that for later. But yeah, I think that's all for now about uncertainty, and mostly against uncertainty, I would say, because we talked so much about making choices and try to cope with the feelings that uncertainty give you. Yes, and that opens so many possibilities, because I also want to talk about emotions sometime later. There are so many topics that we can talk about. But for now, I think that's okay. And I would love to know what, if you want to share with me and people on YouTube about some times when you felt this uncertainty, and what was the feeling that, if you have been able to like decode the uncertainty into, yes, I felt uncertain because of this, and the feeling that I was having in the moment was, I don't know, anger, or maybe a little bit of anger and sadness, and what was the mixture of feelings, because we not only have, maybe we have one feeling, but it's composed by different emotions. So if you want to share, I would be really happy to. Well, maybe not happy, because sometimes the cases could be like could have been like stressful or bad for you. But I will be reading you, and I hope we can learn from each other. So thank you very much for being here. I have to say, if you want to invite me for a coffee, you can do that. There's the description below for coffee. And also, please like, share, and all the things that people do with YouTube videos. So thank you very much for being here, and see you next time. Bye bye. I hope you don't feel uncertain.
Stay tuned for Ulua's next episode.